Well, hey, everybody. It's so great to have you tuned in today. We are here for a brand new series, a new session that we've just come up with that will be continuing on a weekly basis. I'm Patrick. I'm an agent out of our Liberty office. Many of you have come to my classes before, and it's great that you're here with me today. It's fun for me to get to do things like this because I'm an agent just like you. I'm in the business helping people buy and sell. And so hopefully when you come to my classes, you'll know you'll get something good out of it because I'm doing the things and I'm teaching you things that I know that will work for your business. But it's great to have you. We've started this new series. It's a brand new series called Leadership Live. And it's where I'm sitting down with leaders throughout the company, whether they're a broker, an owner, or some of our support staff. And every week we'll have somebody new that we're interviewing. And it's called Leadership Live, where we're interviewing the leadership and we're putting them in the hot seat, so to speak. And so we're excited to have somebody close to home for me anyway. It's Joanna Williams. She's the broker of our Liberty office. Hi, Joanna. We're excited to have you here today. And, I figured we'd start close to home for me, and you'll be our guinea pig for this new series today. But Joanna and I have worked together, gosh, for the last 8 years almost. And so I know a lot about Joanna, but I figured a lot of you may not. And so this series is all about getting to know our leadership, especially during this weird time that we're all home together, not together, home away from each other, but just home and in the middle of quarantine and all of that. So started with Joanna, but hey, Joanna, tell the people who you are. Give us maybe, you hear the phrase elevator pitch. Tell us who you are.
Well, my elevator pitch is I'm Joanna Williams, and I lead the Liberty office for Better Homes and Gardens Real Estate. We have about 23 agents, and they are some of the highest per person production people in the industry, in the Kansas City real estate industry.
That's pretty cool. I mean, that makes me feel pretty good because I'm one of them, I guess. But that's pretty good. I mean, our company alone has some of the highest per production in the market. And our Liberty office in particular has a unique feature there. And it's probably because you hire. Maybe we'll talk a little bit more about that today too. But Joanna, you've been in the business a while, I must say. I mean, not too long. I don't want to make you sound old, but you've been in the business a while. And tell us maybe what got you started, when you started, and even before you came to, Pru KC back in the day.
Well, I was a single mom working at a doctor's office in 2000. And while I loved my job, I wanted to be home closer, in the town, closer to where my kids were going to school. And a friend of mine was at Prudential Snook Real Estate in Kearney. And I took a job there as kind of an admin front desk person. At the time, that's the same person that wrote all of the checks and processed all of the contracts and things like that. So I started in the business with Steve Snook back in the day. And we've just, we've kind of changed names and changed ownership, but I've always kind of just followed along the same path when, Prudential became Better Homes and Gardens, and we were bought by Prudential Kansas City.
Yeah, so you've got a long-standing history, and you've been with Better Homes and Gardens, Kansas City Homes, all this time since they purchased, Carter Duffy back in the day. What year was that they bought Prudential Carter Duffy?
It was 2009.
Yeah, so 2009, you've been with the company, 11 years basically as Better Homes and Gardens, essentially before we changed our name. But what do you like about BHGKC? I mean, why are you here? What makes you stay?
Well, I will say it was funny. My favorite story is back in the day when I was working with Steve Snook, we went to a large Prudential meeting. So it was all the area Prudentials, and David Cooper was there. And it was so funny because I remember back to that day, Steve Snook and I are really good friends, but I met David Cooper and I was really impressed by him and throughout the whole entire meeting. And I told Steve Snook that day, I said, I'm going to make it my goal in life to work for David Cooper at some point. And it's funny because it took me a minute to get there, but I finally did. And he was so well spoken. He presented himself so well. And I just wanted to be a part of what he was doing.
That's fun. That's fun. We've got some great leadership. All of us as agents know that. We realize that. And that's why I think it's going to be fun over these next several weeks to sit down with these leaders, not only brokers, but David, hopefully, and the owners and everybody else, and get to know them kind of like we're doing today. So, well, we're lucky to have you. And I get that from, personal experience. Any of our Liberty agents know that. And that's kind of why I wanted to start with you, because we're kind of stuck up in a corner in the northeast part of Kansas City. And a lot of our agents don't know you. So there you go, a good little history about Joanna. But you've been with the company a while. That's good and all. But let's get a little personal. What have you been doing during quarantine? What's been going on in your life?
Well, I do all of the contract processing for the office. So I am working because you all are working, thank goodness, right? I spend my day going to all of the webinars. I try to get on as many as possible through the day, and yelling at the dogs to stop barking is a large portion of my day. And, I exercise a lot too. So I've been keeping with my schedule. I get up every morning, I work out, I get ready, I get pretty well dressed for what I'm going to be doing. But I've been keeping with my schedule and actually working longer hours.
Yeah, I've heard that. I've heard that from a lot of people. They're working longer hours from home, getting more done, trying things that they've wanted to try for a long time, maybe. So that's exciting. Okay, so you're one of the people that get dressed. I know you get dressed, but you're putting on business clothes throughout the day.
Yeah. I thought it was important. I'm also taking a online Yale class, which I really love too. But I thought it was important to kind of keep with my routine, because I don't want to get to the point where I'm sleeping in and I forget how to wake up early in the morning and do my workout. It's really, exercise is so important in my life. So I wanted to keep with a schedule just to kind of keep things flowing right.
That's good. I want to talk to you about this Yale class, but first, have you had to cut your own hair?
My hair only gets cut about twice a year. It's super, super long. So I would love for it to be cut, but no, I did cut Josh's hair, or help him with it. He's really good at cutting his own. I did the back.
Oh, I wish I could say the same. I tried it, and I would tell you, hashtag do not recommend cutting your own hair. It didn't turn out well. I'm very grateful for Paula, my hair lady. So I can't wait to get back in and see her. Okay, so this Yale class that you've been doing, tell us about it. It might be something that other people are interested in.
Well, it's really awesome. It's super appropriate for right now. It's called The Science of Wellbeing, and it's Dr. Lori Santos. If you just look up The Science of Wellbeing through Yale, it'll take you to Coursera, which is what they're hosting it through. But it's a totally free class. And what she does is she takes you through step by step what you think makes you happy, and then kind of challenges you to reset your reference points. And I've learned throughout the class, I say we because Maggie and I are taking it together. We've learned throughout the class that our reference points are kind of what we see other people doing and what other people's opinions are. So, we see other people going on vacation. We might not love vacation as much as everybody else does, but we see other people going on vacation. So that's my reference point. I'm not happy because I can't go on vacation. So it's been really an in-depth, crazy class, because so many of the things that you would think contribute to your happiness actually don't. And so it's been really good to take right now.
That's nice. Yeah, so tell the people where they can find that course again.
It's called The Science of Wellbeing. You could actually email me and I'll send it to you, but it's called The Science of Wellbeing, and it's through Yale.
Yale, the school, like the
Yale,
Ivy
the
League
school.
school.
The Ivy League school.
Yeah. Now that sounds pretty. I think I need to take a Yale course. I would never get in, but I'll get in on that course. So that'd be something to check out. So, well, cool. I think that's a great thing for all of us to be doing right now is, skill building. And you talked to me a little bit about how it teaches you just to appreciate your surroundings, just appreciate the small things in life of what's going on right here, right now. And I think that's important right now more than ever. We're bogged down by negative stuff all over the place. So it sounds like a great course that I think a lot of us should be checking out. So very cool. You know, one thing I know about you, speaking of during quarantine, is that you're a pretty good cook. I bet that people want to know, because I need to know some new recipes. What are some things that you've been cooking while you're in quarantine?
Well, we do. What I've realized is, if the world ends, we're really going to need a garden. uh, we eat a lot of vegetables, so we do a lot of just meat and vegetables. We do a lot of just kind of uh, pepper steak and veggies, and cheese melted on top. And Josh has actually been making it. It's been my favorite dish lately. I just can't get enough of it. It's a Asian cabbage pancake, and it's really just meat and cabbage and egg and a few spices, and it is delicious. It is he can make it over and over and over again, and he's like, "Are you sure you want that again?" So it's been wonderful. But we usually eat out about 75% of the time, and so we have been picking a couple of days a week to also support the local businesses.
That's nice. There's been such a big move on that. And so, gosh, I bet if you tuned in today, you didn't know you were going to be getting some recipe ideas. So there you go. Those sound clever and unique. But as we wrap up our topic on quarantine, what's something that you're just dying to do when life gets back to normal? What are you excited about?
I just want to go back to the office and see everybody. My favorite thing is being at our beautiful office and hanging out with everybody. And I'm kind of really missing everybody's, just walking in and seeing everybody's faces, and being in my beautiful space. And it's just my favorite thing. So that's what I'm looking forward to.
You and me both. Just being around other real estate agents is so beneficial for us. And I think we've realized that while we're stuck at home with our pets or our children, some of you, or our mirror, like in my case, that's all I've got. So yeah, I can't wait to get back to work. And I'm glad I'm not the only one. I'm sure I saw a lot of head nods while we were talking about that. But well, let's switch gears and talk about real estate. That's what a lot of you tuned in for today. And, Joanna is a wealth of knowledge. She's been in the business for, gosh, almost 20 years now, like she was telling us. And so, let's talk about real estate. If you were an agent right now, Joanna, what would you be doing to keep your business alive?
Well, what I'm actually doing to keep my recruiting business alive is I am just simply talking to people. So every single day, as I kind of plan out my day, I've got, this webinar I'm going to be on. I have this total plan throughout the day, and I usually set that the night before. And then as the day goes through, I intentionally write down some people's names, and I say, I'm going to check in with this person. I'm going to check in with this person. And I'm not making recruiting phone calls. I'm genuinely getting in touch with people I care about. And if I was selling real estate, I'd be doing the exact same thing that I'm doing right now. I probably would have less time for webinars, because I realize a lot of you are still working and taking listings and things like that. But I would definitely focus all of my attention on sending out cards, doing some Facebook messages to people, and texting and calling and just reaching out. Because if you haven't been on the receiving end of a phone call that is just somebody calling to check on you and see how you're doing, it is incredible. I'll tell you, you all know Tom Dulick with Security First. He was one of the first people to reach out to me and just call me. And he was just like, I don't need anything. I mean, I want to tell you how we're going to work through this, but I genuinely just wanted to check on you. And it made me choke up a little bit, because I was just like, oh, wow, thank you, Tom. You care about me that much. And so that's how other people feel whenever you call to check on them. And you do not need to talk about selling real estate right now. So I would, if somebody brings something up, definitely make a note in your calendar to follow up when things are a little bit better and different. But right now, that's not what you're doing. You're being a part of the community, and you're reaching out. And there's been 1,000 great ideas on different things that you can do. You know, we've talked about hiring a food truck, and we've talked about getting a dumpster for the neighborhood, and just different things that you can do. And in my opinion, just the other day I posted about how I drove through the Northland Minskys, and they were just nailing the customer service. That's another way that you can reach out to your community and help, just by posting something that says, hey, by the way, guys, this business is doing something amazing. And that's really going to get you a lot of attention that isn't focused on you. It is focused on others. And that's really what we need to be focused on right now.
Isn't that good? Everybody's just nodding along. That's good advice. Good advice to keep in touch with people. You know, normally there are calls that I'd be like, ugh, leave me alone. But I've been getting calls from inspectors and mortgage people, and they're just a nice conversation. You know, they're just asking how's life going. And I bet our clients would feel the same way. They don't have anybody else to talk to, a lot of them. And maybe a great time to send out some personal notes. You know how I feel about mail, everybody, but I think it'd be a good time to send out some personal notes to people too. But great advice, Joanna. You know, speaking of advice, and you mentioned recruiting, let's say if you had a new recruit, and you've got a few that are rather new. I know a lot of our agents tuning in are experienced. They've been with us for many years, but some of us are pretty new. What would you tell somebody that's new in the business at this time of how to stick with it and how to survive this crazy situation?
Well, I think if you talk to a lot of our experienced agents that have been in a while, they will tell you that they got their start in some of the roughest times in real estate. And there's something to be said for doing what you can to practice and hone your skills right now, and get ready for when we're kind of released from this. I won't say, I'm so tired of everybody saying opportunity. It's just a unique time where, you know, when you get in the business and you have business, all of a sudden, a lot of people that get in the business in the spring, all of a sudden have things that they have to start doing. You know, I've got this buyer, I've got to run around, I've got this new listing I've got to take, and you're just scrambling. Well, you can take this time and put systems in place that everyone on this call wishes they would have put in place in their first year in real estate. And you can really decide how you want your business to look right now before you really get going. And I really, don't be discouraged by what's going on right now. Just take it in stride and know that the survivors that are here, and a lot of them, I see a lot of them on this call, these are some of your top producers in real estate that maybe got started in some of the hardest times. We have an agent in our office, Tanya, who got started right before, you know, the 2008 times hit, and she'll tell you, she was like, it was tough back then, but she's built a really solid business without stopping and saying, okay, I give up, this is terrible, you know.
That's right. You got to stick with it. You've got to stick
Absolutely.
with it. You're in it for the long haul. Our goal as a company for all of our agents is that we're still in business at the end of this. I forget the phrase. What's the phrase that David used in his video the other day?
Be around for the turnaround.
Be around for the turnaround. Isn't that good? I think we've got to keep that in the back of our minds. I think that's a great idea. Well, you know, I want the people to know what Better Homes and Gardens is doing behind the scenes. What's the leadership been up to? How are we supporting our agents behind the scenes? Tell us a little bit about that.
I don't really even know where to start with this question because it's a pile. First off, these classes, Christian's been amazing at putting everything together, and I know you and Alex have helped a lot. So, you know, we shifted quite well and quite quickly to doing so many things from home. So education was part of it. I cannot speak highly enough of our accounting department that is just killing it right now. You know, they didn't even question, we're going to take everything home. We're going to shift how we send out the checks. We're going to stop the courier. The courier, I don't know if everybody knows this, but the courier is a salary size expense every year. So that's one of the expenses that we've cut. And there's been a whole lot of expenses cut. And I don't worry about that because I was in the business in 2008, 2009, when I saw a lot of money going out the door that was just things that we really didn't need at that time. And I think it's so smart of our leadership to have started super early on cutting back expenses to stabilize our company and take what they learned from those bad times and help us out. And we're going to be the stable company that's still here in the end.
I think that's important. We've got such smart leadership, not only, personality wise, but they make really smart decisions. And we see that with a lot of the guidance that they're giving us and the amazing communication that they're giving us too. And so that's very unique. I would bet your bottom dollar that if you talk to some of your other competitive agents out there, they're not getting the same communication and same feedback. So that's something that sets our company apart. And I think is really neat. As we wrap up our conversation about kind of quarantine and business during coronavirus, let's look to the future. What do you think, your crystal ball says about what real estate's going to be like after coronavirus goes away?
Well, I have this optimistic viewpoint, so don't don't fillet me right now. But back in previous crisis, what has happened is we have had an overabundance of inventory, and that inventory sat and sat and sat. And what we don't have right now is an overabundance of inventory. So what all of the economists have said is, after things, kind of calm down and we're released out of this quarantine, we're going to see probably the fastest recovery in history is what they're predicting. And they're not just saying that because they want us to be still in the business or they want us to be optimistic about it. It's what they have studied from the last times this has happened. And every single time we've been in the situation where we had too much inventory and now we don't. And there's still a lot of buyers out there. I mean, we're seeing a steady amount of contracts come through, and everybody's being smart about it. But I think I'm going to go with the economists and say, I hope it's the fastest recovery in history.
Fingers crossed. I hope so too. And if anybody knows anything about Joanna, it's that she does her research. She reads tons of articles and economist stories, things like that. So she's done the research to answer that question, and we'll have to come back and reference this and see what happens in hopefully 3 months. It'll all be over in 3 months, right? Let's hope so. Otherwise, I'll be running out of leaders to do this series with. But that'll be fun. So hopefully it'll all come true and life will be back to normal soon. But I'm glad we've got each other to lean on in the meantime. So, speaking of the future, let's get away from, business shop talk. Let's talk about you. What do you see your life like in 5 years? What do you want to be doing?
I'd like to be doing a lot more of the same. I really like what I do. I always say I love what I do, but I really enjoy it. And I think our office will be bigger. Not the office itself, because I love the space. I think we'll have more agents in it. I can see us needing to build a few more offices and expand that a little bit, and just having more people. I think we're doing a really good job of having a major footprint in Liberty, and Christy does a great job of having a major footprint over on the other side, Northland, Platte County side. So I think people are really starting to take notice in the Northland of Better Homes and Gardens, and I just see that kind of snowballing from here forward.
That's great. More of the same. You heard it here first. Joanna loves her job. And, one of Joanna's favorite phrases, I talked with a lot of her agents, a lot of them I know personally, and her favorite phrase is love your people. Am I right, Joanna? So tell me,
It is.
what do you love about your agents and the company that you work with? What do you love the most?
Well, everybody, I kind of feel like people choose our office. I don't interview everybody. I don't welcome everybody into the company. People that really get along with me choose our office, and I choose them. And it creates a lot of longevity, a lot of loyalty, and I feel like we're just such a family. And I know there was a time not too long ago my mom had a stroke near Thanksgiving, and I flat out was in tears in the office the day I learned of it. And I'll tell you, one of our agents, Joy Engel, she just walked up and she just wrapped her arms around me and she just let me cry. And there's times that we're not, I need you guys as much as you need me, and we give and take, and it is an amazing relationship. And that's why I say family, because it's probably actually better than family, because a lot of us get along better than we get along with our family. But it's just amazing, and we support each other, and I think it's so important to have such a good, wholesome environment where we can really lean on each other and know that we're going to be there no matter what.
Yeah, well, no crying allowed today on this interview, but yes,
None.
that is. But isn't that the truth? I think all of our agents and brokers could agree with that we're just one great big family. That's very unique for our company, I believe. I talk with other agents all the time, and they don't have the camaraderie that we've got within our office and our company. So you all are in the right place that are tuned in today, and I'm sure you're all grateful for that too. Well, one of our staffers said, Joanna is always the freaking calmest person, no matter what the situation. And I want to know, what makes you have the ability to stay so calm and cool even during a crisis?
Well, I would probably attribute this to the fact that my dad's a preacher, and I know that I'm not in control of the outcome. No matter what's going to happen, I feel like I'm not in control of it. So what I am in control of is my attitude and my reactions to things. And I did mention that I exercise a ton, and I think that really helps for your mental well-being. I just make sure that that's one of the most important parts of my day, is focusing on just taking a minute and saying, okay, I'm really fired up about this. I can't do anything about it. I'm not going to control the outcome. I can imagine the worst, I can fear the worst, whatever, but I'm not in control of it. And what I am in control of is my attitude and my reaction. And so anytime that I need to adjust my attitude, you will find me hitting the trail. And it is definitely, it's so important to me. And I that's the reason I work out every morning before I start my day, because it helps my attitude in the morning. And then I always work out between work and home, so I can adjust from anything that's happened during the day.
Good advice. Good advice from somebody that stays calm and cool no matter what. And I've witnessed that myself. So, well, I want to get us all into a question and answer session. You all tuned in today. I'd love to chat with you and have you ask your questions for Joanna. If you want to do that, click on the participants button and then raise your hand, and we'll kind of go in the order that you raise your hand. I'd love to hear your questions. It's absolutely nothing off limits. She's in the hot seat. Put your hand up and ask a question, and then I'll unmute you when we call you. But as people do that, Joanna, tell us, I want to know, you're kind of known as the boss lady. You've got that nameplate on your desk in the office, but you're also known as the dot loop queen for many people. What would you rather be known as, the boss lady or the dot loop queen?
Well, the dot loop queen means that I have to answer a lot of questions and handle a lot of stuff. Boss lady is definitely less pressure than dot loop queen. Either one, I love them both.
All right, good answer. All right, well, you know what to call her now. Well, somebody raise their hand and we'll go into a little question and answer. We've got a little bit at the end as well, so don't log out quite yet. But if you've got a question for Joanna, feel free to ask it. Put your hand up and chat with us.
Lori Fox asked, what systems was I talking about whenever I said you should put some systems in place? I really think it's important to have a sort of checklist that you go through anytime that you're doing something. So if you're listing a property, you're going to take this checklist and apply it to listing that property. I get my pictures 2 or 3 days in advance. I need to get the key copied. I need to do this. I'm going to post it here, here, and here. So make your checklist. Christian has some really good ones that she's offering, and have a checklist for every single process that you do. And also have a habit, kind of, what you do, how you start your morning. And I'm a huge reader. A lot of you know this about me. I read hundreds and hundreds of books. One of my favorite books was Charles Duhigg talked in The Power of Habit about creating habits that you don't even have to think about. You roll out of bed, and what's the first thing that you do every single morning? A lot of you are going to tell me, oh, I pour myself a cup of coffee, which is totally fine. But the more you set some habits in place, and the more you get used to doing things that way. I write in a gratitude journal every single morning. It's just, I have all of these habits that just kind of happen because I've been doing them for so long. So beyond checklists and processes, it just try to set some good habits. Whenever I get to the office every single day, I log into the MLS and I check through the MLS and I see who's listed what and what neighborhoods are selling, if there's some, a new subdivision cropping up, things like that. And so I go and I study the market every single day when I get into the office. So just systems like that. I'm not really talking about something real super formal, because that can be hard to do, but just get yourself in order.
I think that's good advice. Absolutely. I think we can all relate to that. And hello, Rebecca Dracy. How are you doing? I never say your name right, I don't think, but I'm going to unmute you and ask your question.
Actually, you said my name right, Geraci.
Oh, good.
So this is a question that I am working with another agent. And so, not to give you too many parameters, but like with a limited budget and not wanting to use maybe the Zap, which I consider the Greenhouse Zap CRM, or the Home Suite, when you're working with new agents with that limited budget, what do you recommend for database management? What CRMs do you recommend? I've been researching all of them. There are some that are $100 a month, which is not really a good, decision at this time for us. What do you recommend for your new agents for managing your database with a good CRM tool?
I'm sorry, but I really do like Zap and Home Suite. I really do like them both because they're free. But I think it's so important. What I tell new agents to do, and this is going to be really old school of me, but I have been in the business for a long time. So what I tell new agents to do is, write down on their calendar, I need to follow up with this person. I need to follow up with this person. And as you're going through your list, put them on your calendar. Actually have calendar appointments to call and follow up with people until you have a large database. And while you're building it, you can just use what you've got already. And since we use Google Suite, we can, you can make a spreadsheet. A lot of our ninjas have those hot, warm, cold lists. And that spreadsheet's available for you. You can load that into Google Drive. That's free. So there's a lot of things I believe our company has already, and you're going to have to kind of piece things together if you're going for free. You can't be super organized and have this perfect system that is going to tell you what to do on a day-to-day basis unless you're willing to spend a little bit of money on it.
Okay, so that brings up the next question. For the other agent that I'm working with who does have a little money to spend, do you have any recommendations? I've been looking at there's so many, Property Base, Insightly, Pipedrive, Wise Agent, Top Producer. It's a little bit overwhelming. Do you have any, of course you don't have to endorse a product, but do you have any recommendations on if you want to spend a little money?
And Crystal, I'm going to call you out a little bit. I've looked at the one that Crystal's using, and I really think it's pretty amazing. And it's got kind of some different levels. Would you either unmute yourself or put it in the chat for everybody?
Okay, can you hear me?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. I use RealVolve and I love it. One thing about me is I'm a really organized person when it comes to life in general. And so I like to have systems in place that I have control over. So if you're that type of person, this is a great system. It not only keeps all of your transactions in one place. It keeps all of your contacts. You can set up workflows where you can automatically touch base with those people, and you can edit those workflows. If any of you guys went and heard Shay speak, she actually uses that system as well, and I didn't know that. But I've reached out to her several times about it, and just to get a little feedback. She's got some really great systems, and those workflows have been so great. I mean, people don't even realize that you're using one. So I would definitely recommend that one. It's affordable. I think I probably paid, I think for the year it was like $400 to $500, something like that. Totally worth it because it's not just a CRM.
Could you say the name? Could you say Real Ball?
Revolve.
Oh, Revolve.
Yeah.
And maybe Crystal, you can put that in the chat if that's the right spelling,
yeah.
but just verify that.
That is right, Kim.
And Crystal,
Yeah.
I'm right in that there's some different levels to that. And so the more you get into that, you can pay a little bit more and use a little bit more of it, right?
Right. So you can purchase workflows, you can purchase different email formats, things like that. If you're on a team, you would purchase a higher level and you could add people onto it. Mine's pretty basic, and I've just purchased some different workflows and I've made my own. So I just love it because I can have control over what's going out and still make everybody feel like they're, being remembered.
Yeah. And Crystal, a question for you before we get back to Joanna, but Kim asked, do you use their mobile app for Revolve?
I do. Initially, it was terrible. I'll be totally honest. It was really bad. It did not update. And then they just recently, probably in the last month or so, they did some sort of update to it, and everything is there. So, yeah, but I really like the desktop version the best.
It seems like everything's kind of easier to use on a desktop for something that complex. There's so much data that you're putting into it. But thank you, Crystal, for that, and very good. So, and if you have any questions for Crystal about that, just email her. It's crystal@kansascityhomes.com. I know I muted you, but you could put your email in the chat, Crystal, and people can reach out to you with questions, but it might be a different email. So if I made that up, don't email that.
It's K Espinoza.
See, I made it up. Yeah. See, there you go. So, yep. Don't email that. So K Espinoza, and she can put her email into the chat if you have any questions about that. But very good. Well, Joanna, as we wrap things up today, looks like there aren't any other questions, but do me the favor of telling the agents what they need to know right now. Give them your final thoughts.
My final thoughts are just going to be try to shut down the negative news. Just try to do everything you can to filter what's coming into you, and decide what you want to have in your life right now. And so I find if I fill my day with this happiness, this science of well-being class, and these awesome webinars that were being offered, then my mind is, it's about 9 or 10 hours that my mind doesn't have any time to think about the coronavirus. And do everything that you can do to support your community and still be who you are, and let people see the real you. I think there's so much good that's going to come from this. And I know some of the moms on here are probably rolling their eyes because they're like, get my kids back to school. But there's still a lot of good. And I'll tell you, I think that it's just such a unique time, and you can focus. You can always choose what you're focusing on, and something from Ninja, I think it's from Ninja, what you focus on expands. And I really do feel that is so true, especially right now. You've just got to filter what's coming into you. And if you want some of these good economists talks and predictions, I'm happy to send them out to you, because everything that I've heard and chosen to listen to, it has been absolutely positive. And that's how I'm so optimistic. I haven't listened to anybody that's negative. If they start talking anything negative, I turn it off. It's done. It's out of my world. I'm not going to listen to it. I'm going to continue to run my office. I'm going to continue to encourage my agents. I'm going to continue to encourage real estate business being done safely. And I'm just going to look forward to the next quarter, hopefully, when we've got this behind us and just are busier than we've ever been. So I hope you can do that too.
I'm believing for that, busier than we've ever been. Joanna, how can people get in touch with you? Maybe just give us your contact information verbally for those that have tuned in.
Okay. It's jwilliams@kansascityhomes.com. I'm really easy to get a hold of.
That's good. Just send her an email. Hey, we're so lucky to have had Joanna tune in with us today and sit with us and ask some questions. Give her a round of applause. We're so grateful to have her. And thank you for being our first guinea pig in this Leadership Live series. So a big thank you to you.
Absolutely. It was a lot of fun.
Hey, we're here next week as well. We've got, let's see, who am I doing next week? I think Daryl Stiles is tuning in. He's going to be in the hot seat next week. So tune in and listen to that. It's next Thursday at 8:30. But thanks for everybody for joining. Have a good rest of your day. And thanks for tuning in.